Well, okay, so, all right, repeat after me. I am not an enemy of the state. Okay, so, all right, so we're getting our main point out and stuff like that. I'm not the enemy of the state. You're not the enemy of the state. That's not how we're looking to move forward. We don't want to just do a blanket rule. We don't want to just do a blanket understanding and scrap everything. I don't believe anyone who really analyzes and understands or just takes a deeper look. There's no one set system that's in place. All the systems are sharing bits and pieces of it. Okay, the democratic system is sharing bits and pieces of feudalism and dictatorships. Capitalist systems involve many socialist programs. Some of our best civil services and things are heavily socialist in nature, or definitely involve some communal process as opposed to some kind of free enterprise or privatized stuff like that under a particular ownership and stuff like that. So nothing is isolated in its own. All nature moves to some form of sharing, some form of cooperation, some forms of compounds to the complexity and stuff like that. It's just how it is. So libraries, recycling, public transportation, you know what I mean? So, okay. So what we say is we're not an enemy of the state, and what we're doing is we're making an official declaration. And what we're trying to say is moving forward, and I believe that this is very critical. And if you don't, and if you want to shut this video off, I respect that. Okay, please respect us as well. Okay, sometime in the future, I hope that a lot of people will see where I'm at and how we were really on point with what we're talking about, because this is not only going to apply to controllers and elite and whoever we believe. Okay, we're not going to alienate each other and separate. Whoever we believe are the shot callers and the people in power. There's nothing wrong with mentioning and describing things and using those terms. It shouldn't. YouTube shouldn't freak out. Nobody should freak out. I don't think the powers that be and those people in leadership roles freak out either and stuff like that. Okay, you shouldn't. Okay, this fair reality. It's time to be mature. Okay. We want disclosure, we want more truth, we want more transparency, okay? But at the same time, large parts and large chunks of our society hold on to some idealistic textbook theory. I mean, I'm here to just say, look, man, I don't know. For those people who want to reserve the right to just battle it out and whatever, you're kind of not doing anything different from might makes right, except that you just firmly believe you're right, and you believe that your right is goodness, so therefore goodness is the justification for violence, and that's not wrong either. That's very classic. At least people say, well, if you had to choose a fight, if you had to choose a reason why, if you had to choose the justification why, isn't being right and righteousness good reasons? Hell yeah, of course they are. Except when we get to the gray areas of exactly what's right. It's so much easier to have that movement when the rights and wrongs are definitive and stuff. But what about the gray areas where somebody is not an evil son of a bitch, okay? But they're not like, they're not socialists. They're not philanthropists. They have no interest. They don't really care too much for you. You know what I mean? They don't hate you. They just don't care too much for you. They don't hate you because of the color of your skin. They don't hate you for any of that, okay? All they're doing is survival. That's their thing. They believe in survival of the fittest. They believe in that. They don't even believe that with all of their might they should just dominate the world. They just believe that they should just be the best that they can be. They should just be great and dominate at what they love and are passionate about and stuff like that. So it's a slippery slope, right? Because I know, I've read the theories, the papers, I've read the books, the textbooks, without mentioning specific names and stuff like that. I've read all of them and stuff in my universities. And so, and one of the points is, it's hard to reach certain levels of success, of wealth, acquiring acquisitions and stuff like that without without crossing the line into unfair behavior and unfair, right? But that's slowly changing, man. With the technology and the access and the amount of people and the evolution of our markets and business, that's changing. Okay, so don't bullshit. That's changing. So if you want to hold somebody to that standard where we once did for the industrial revolution and stuff like that, and the factory worker, and you want to still kind of hold those standards, usually the target that we put the bullseye on, and rightfully so in a lot of ways, is corporate, large chunks of corporate behavior and stuff, and advertising, or the bigger picture media / advertising, the commercial side of it, and the predatorial nature, and the warlike nature, and the psychological manipulation involved with marketing and advertising and stuff like that, right? Let's call it like it is. Look, those things, I'm not asking anyone to lay down their weapons. I'm not asking anyone to lay down their fight, okay? We need everyone pitching in, including resistors who may resist even as a blanket policy and say, crawlFace, I don't entirely know, but that's the reason why I'm going to default by resisting all of their side. Very fair, okay? But we need Me Too, and we need people like me on this side as well, because evil is not going anywhere. Because evil also believes, there is somebody who can be a lawful evil. There's different kinds of evil. And I've discussed this before in the vlog talks. Please don't underestimate it. Please don't sleep on it, man. Please don't sleep on it. There are different types of evil. Like the evil that we're talking about is a much more functional evil. It's an evil that has a fundamental nature, that comes from a fundamental nature. Okay, I'm not the only one who thinks about who understands this concept. Okay, and this concept isn't just reserved for semantics. Isn't reserved for philosophy either. Isn't reserved for a scholastic or textbook moral and ethic either. Religions, God, your creator, what you believe also understood this very well. It's there. It's right there in all of the scriptures. It's right there in every single religion's, history and record, experience. What are we talking about? All right, with all due respect and stuff, and the prophets and the revelations and the visions, it's all right there. Okay, nothing was paradise. No, and no paradise ever remained paradise. Okay, not on our side, baby. Not on our side. And if you think that that's all just by coincidence, if you think that in the description and in the set of terms for God and Adam and Eve, if you think that Adam and Eve happened, just by accident, and that there could have been an infinite amount of other times when Adam and Eve just did things perfect and nothing ever else happened, and they never touched never touched the apple, that's wrong. That's not what happened. Okay, the apple is always eaten. Because the religious story, what it's really describing, is incredibly on point and incredible for its time. Because you couldn't have this discussion that we're having now, with our ancestors back. You can't do that. It's like using incompatible programs. You know what I mean? Or using machines that are incompatible. The language is incompatible. The understanding. So what they were able to convey and express, it's brilliant. Brilliant, with all due respect, whether you want to argue the accuracy of actually a creator or whatnot, but never what's being recorded and the information that's being taught and say is incredibly on point. Okay, we are not enemies of the state because we believe that there has to be a coexistence to it, and it's time to man up. It's time to understand that I believe that everybody has it in them. No connection to the absolute, can ever truly be severed, can ever truly be eliminated. But it can be suppressed, and it can be full of interference, and that suppression and that interference, that doubt, that disbelief in it can occur from multiple sides. Not always from the enemy, not always from the evil. Okay, there are people who just naturally have doubt, There are people who don't care about these topics and stuff like that. And there are people who it's just not their time. Okay? But I am in full belief and I fully respect those who can understand what I'm saying and say, crawlFace, I still must conduct myself. I still must carry on my mission as if I can liberate every single one of them. And you know what? That's beautiful, and I believe in that, and I agree with that, okay? But that doesn't change the fact that there must also still be a coexisting. It doesn't change the fact that there must be a coexisting. Why do I say there must be a coexisting? Because evil is still there, and we need a working relationship. We need to share, because we are already sharing, because the battle is already happening. It's been going on. It's eternal. The battle of good and evil is eternal. It's not a battle that can be won. But it's a battle that we must treat as if it can be won. And that's the only way that it can be won. Even though it can't be won. Right? And I say that with all due respect. Okay? And if you scoffed and if you laughed at that, that's cool too. But if you didn't, even though it kind of sounds like, wow, that's paradox, sort of. But you understand? Because if you didn't scoff at that, if you do understand, you know what I mean? Then you know where we're at. Because none of the greatest issues, none of the greatest truths, okay, are devoid of some kind of paradox. Of course they are. They're loaded with paradox. It doesn't mean that it's an actual paradox. They're loaded with problems. Once again, God, heaven, they had problems. The problems across the board. Every culture, every version of the truth has problems. Paradise has problems. Oneness has problems. The absolute condition has problems. There were problems. If there weren't problems, we wouldn't be here. None of this would be here. If there weren't problems, there would be no existence at all. But there is an existence. Therefore, there are problems. Can you understand that? You understand that I don't need to use those sets of terms, and I've used plenty of times I use other sets of terms. But you understand what I'm getting at? You understand? It's two sides to the same coin. You can't have good without the bad. Not because the bad serves a purpose, but because it comes with the territory. Before we even understand its purpose or whatever, it's part of the equation. There is no separation. There is no separation between the two. Good and evil are part of the same thing. They're part of the one. They must happen. They must be. It's how we coexist. It's how we stabilize the relationship. It's how we control each other that means everything. It's how we approach each other and stuff. Okay? Look. When you have a greater understanding, and I'm not saying that I have a greater understanding in that sense, or with all due respect, okay? We all have a greater understanding. It's right there. It's right there. Nobody's better than another person. It's just levels of time that we spent studying it, reviewing it, getting to know it, being aware of it, you know what I mean? Elaborating on it. And I say that also with all due respect. I totally understand. There are people who don't have the time to be talking about this shit, man. Their life is, they're doing all they can, spending all their energy surviving, making a living, and supporting their family. Okay? They don't have the time. So we need to make sure that we consider them as well. Okay? Step by step. I can't be so selfish as to say, well, I'm ready. Therefore, I'm going to thrust the entire world into a revolution. There are no more revolutions. There's no such thing as a revolution. It's not coming. Get it out of your head. Even if you think a revolution is coming, even if you behave like a revolution, even if you do a revolution, it won't be a revolution. There are no more revolutions. The new word, okay, is awareness. It's not a revolution. Okay, it's an awareness. Why do I say get rid of the idea of a revolution? Okay, because after the revolution is done, whatever system you put in place, it will not be exempt from corruption. It will not be exempt. It will not be immune from evil, from bad, from somebody going astray, from somebody getting disenchanted, from somebody, not taking the time to learn and understand. It will not be exempt and immune from somebody being afraid. It will not be exempt and immune from somebody making a mistake, sincere, okay? And making a mistake again out of stupidity or callousness or carelessness. It will not be exempt from and immune from blackmails. It will not be exempt and immune from all of those things, no matter what system you put in place, no matter what we do. And like history repeating itself, no matter how many times we change the regime, okay, and get something better, sooner or later or eventually, okay, it will degrade in pieces, in parts, in sections. And what will we do? We'll target those sections, address those sections, and replace them, and keep going, right? So that's what we should do, and that's what we do now. We don't junk the whole thing. But there are certain agendas, there are certain parties, and there are certain beliefs, and I'm not saying that in a conspiracy sense. The hell with conspiracy. Forget the word conspiracy, because behind every conspiracy is a legitimate group who just actually believe in that shit. A legitimate group who believe that the world isn't ready. A legitimate group of people, or a group of people who have a legitimate belief that they're better than you. They have more money than you. They were more cutthroat than you. They did what it takes to dominate, and they believe in dominating. And just as much as you have your conviction that the world should be a beautiful place, and you might even, and you will fight, and you will kill for that belief and conviction. Well, they have their conviction. And it's not going away. And it's not even a matter of who's right and wrong anymore. It doesn't matter that you're right and they're wrong. It doesn't matter like that, because it didn't matter that the buffalo said it was wrong for the lion to eat our young and wounded. It was wrong for them to. Why can't they man up? Why can't they just pick one of the healthy ones and we'll fight a fair one out and we'll see who gets to eat who? That's not nature. That's not life. That's not how it is. And I may not believe in that. I may not think that that's the best way. I may truly believe that an evolution of things and a progress of things does move away from that. And that at some point, but I'm also a hopeless romantic type as well, and I'm also a very optimistic type of person, believe it or not. So I believe that at some point in the future, there will be a changing and a relationship where the buffalo and the lion do coexist. The buffalo and the lion coexist already. Until it's time to eat. But other than that, they chill. They sleep right next to each other. They eat and graze and drink water right next to each other. Plenty of the times. They overlap plenty of times. We should take a lesson from them.